for joining us tonight. I am Laura Jackson. I am the volunteer coordinator at AHC. I've been in touch with all of you and appreciate you being willing to volunteer. This is the last night that I will be your main point of contact, and after tonight, you'll be working closely with our center staff. So I just wanted to clarify a little bit about my role versus their role. I support all of our centers that have education programs. I also support our food distribution programs. So if you have anybody that wants to volunteer, please send them my way. I will also be coordinating some trainings, one or two in the fall and then another one in the winter. So if you have ideas for training, again, would love to hear them. And then if you are having trouble getting in touch with your center staff, if you can't find their phone number or email right when you need it, you're welcome to send me a message that I can pass along. But your center staff are going to be your main point of contact after tonight. So if you have questions about your schedule, questions about your students, question about things in the center, please get in touch with them either in person when you're there or by email or by phone. And all of their phones have texting capability as well. So also wanted to go over AHC's schedule. We are starting next week. Very excited to have the school year on the way. We follow the Arlington Public School schedule. So we follow their holidays. I have these listed here. I will send a link to the whole calendar. And I will send out emails throughout the year reminding you about upcoming holidays. If you see an early release on that school calendar, we're open. We would love to have your help. We will be open when the students are out of school, but still expect you at the regular time. We'll go ahead and close for the full week of Thanksgiving. So that is not following the Arlington Public School schedule because they do have school Monday and Tuesday, but we do not. We're also going to follow their schedule for the winter holidays. It's a little soon to start talking about bad weather, but we will follow their weather closures. So on snow or ice days, we will try to send out an email to all of our volunteers about that as well. So now I would like to go over the volunteer agreement. I have sent everybody a link to this and I will send it again, but this is something that we want you to review and sign every year. So the first thing on there is that you are committing to help once a week. We really appreciate that. We're counting on you coming. If you can't come for any reason, that's okay, but please notify the center staff. Even if you're running 10 minutes late, it helps them to know. So please be in touch with them when you are running late or have any kind of change. Confidentiality is the next thing. We ask that you keep everything that goes on in the center confidential. So might be something, you might have a cute story to share. The student did something really funny today. If you really need to share that with somebody, don't use the student's name, just say the student. If you have something that's concerning to you, not a funny story, but something that's concerning, please talk to our center staff. At that point, you can use the student's name, but anything that's concerning, especially don't share a student's name with somebody outside of the center. Most of you know, COVID's still around. So if you are sick, please stay home. If you've been exposed, it's probably easiest if you stay home. You're also welcome to email me and I'll look up the latest CDC guidance around that. But we just mostly encourage you to stay home when you're sick. Try to keep everybody safe. There are boundaries that we all need to follow during the program. The first is about asking personal questions on sensitive topics. So, students might blurt out funny things, something about their parents, grandparents, funny or not so funny. If it's something concerning, please talk to the staff about it, but don't start probing your student and asking them more questions. You don't need to tell them, no, 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 I can't talk about that. But just follow up with the staff if you hear something that you're worrying about. We do not allow people to get together outside a program. You might think it'd be really fun to take your student to the zoo. If that's the case, please volunteer with us during the summer because we take all our students to the zoo as part of our program of summer camp, but we do not allow people to go with students outside of our program parameters. No following on social media, hopefully is an easy one, working with elementary school students. If you have something funny that you've seen on social media, funny and age appropriate, funny cat video or something, you're welcome to, if there's downtime, show your student if you're building a relationship. But again, you would never follow a student or have them follow you. No photos or videos. We do have a phone. Our staff have a phone that can take photos and videos. We'd love to get a photo of your student holding up a drawing or something that they've written that they're proud of. Just ask to borrow the staff phone and you can take photos that way. No gifts. Well, actually, it's not no gifts. Gifts only after checking with staff. So this comes up around the holidays or the end of the year. You might want to give something to your student, please talk to the staff first. We don't want the other students to get their feelings hurt or be jealous. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. We'll go with the staff judgment on that. No initiating touch. So students might hug you. That's great. Give them a hug back, but you can also fist bump, but you would never initiate the hug or anything like that. And then the last thing on the volunteer agreement is support. I'm here to support all of our volunteers. Our center staff are there to support you. If you have any questions, any concerns, don't know what to do, have a question about your student, please reach out to them. They can't help you if they don't know if you have a question.
You can at least.
Brilliant. Sorry. Thank you for the reminder.
Oh,
All
sorry,
right,
I didn't want to
Lainey.
interrupt you earlier, so I didn't say anything. Okay, hi everyone. My name's Lainey Parrott. I know some of you, but maybe not everybody, but this is now my second school year with AHC's after school program. I'm the literacy and curriculum specialist. So I work with our staff and our students with literacy, but also with other curriculum initiatives like our social and emotional curriculum, the Positivity Project, and their PBLs and things like that they do. But our initiative this year that we're going to work on is reading buddies with our students. So we do focus on literacy in our after school program as an area that we measure for growth for all of our students. And a big part of this is because it is an area of need, not just in Arlington or just in Virginia, but across the country. We are working on trying to improve our literacy with our students in our after school program. We use a program called iReady, which we'll continue to do. But one of the things that I know will make a big difference is to have our students working individually with a volunteer who comes in. So last year I made some literacy kits that went around to different sites, but this year we're working on getting made literacy kits for each of our students. And they're kind of modeled after a program that we did with at Gates of Ballston. They're very similar, where students just have a packet that has books and reading games, sight words, and other activities, but it's individual for that student. Any volunteer can pick up the packet, find the student's name, and go work with them. So I have an example of one. There are these like little I have the blur on, so you can't see it. Hilarious. But it's just a pouch with a lot of stuff in it. And one of the things in there that I think is the most helpful is like a guideline or a lesson plan template. I can probably turn off my little thing, my blur. There we go. You guys get to see my house. It's like a lesson plan template, and it maps out really clearly and concisely kind of what is expected. So that way, if you go into something and you're like, I don't know what it means when it says work on sight words, it says very clearly, go through the list of sight word flashcards, have the students read them to you, have the students use them in a sentence, have the students write the word. If you find words that the students don't know, stop and put those aside. The same, we have a journal for each of our students, which is a great chance for them to practice writing. That is often something that I'm a former classroom teacher, and I know that writing was one of those things we didn't always have time for. It's a great way to practice, and it's a great way to practice their sight words, because they have to not only know how to read it, but how to spell it, be able to see it in their reading. I also have books in all of their bags that are at various levels. Some are just the like easy I can read books, but a lot of them will have just be books with like questions at the end. So you would have very little lift because the questions are already written for you. And you just ask the student the questions and see kind of how they answer. One of the things that we do hope is that our students will build their comprehension. And that is a harder thing, especially for a lot of our students who maybe are learning English as their other language, or they're immigrants who come from different families. Their background knowledge is a little bit more limited. So working with a one-on-one tutor or volunteer is a really great way for them to kind of be able to learn more. If they don't understand something, you can help them understand it. You can kind of introduce them to something. That's the thing I love most about reading, is that it really does open the world for some of our students who aren't able to access the full world right now. So it's a really great opportunity. Our goal would be that you come in to the site and spend 30 to 45 minutes working with your student. The first few minutes can be spent, I have a little get to know you game in each of the folders, can be spent playing that game together and building rapport and relationship with one another, and then spending time working through some of the literacy activities, maybe doing the sight words, maybe doing a sight word game if you can tell they're a little bit antsy. Having them read the book to you, or you reading a book to them, writing in their journal, and things like that. Practicing with some of our littler kids, our kindergartners and our first graders, probably practicing their letter sounds or practicing building words using just 3 letters, like, cat, things like that. But those are all things that I have written in the lesson plan for you. So it's not like you have to come up with something to do. The ideas are all there, but that also means you don't have to do it all at once. You can say, okay, today we're going to do our sight words. And then we're going to read a book, and then you'll go back. Or today we're going to practice our writing of our sight words, and then we'll do this and you'll go back. But another thing that's included in all of them is going to be a folder where you kind of log what it is that you worked on with your student that day. So it'll really doesn't need to take more than like 1 or 2 minutes to just write down, practice sight words. They struggled with this word, or practice writing. They did a great job, read their story in their journal, something little like that. But it has a place for you to put the date when you worked with them and your name. And that just helps because we do have a lot of different volunteers who come in. And so if you worked with a student on Monday, but maybe you're not there the following Monday, another volunteer can work with them and can see what it is that you've worked on in the past. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for not only our students, but for you guys as well. It's a great chance to build those relationships with students, but also helping them learn, helping them work towards their goals of some literacy proficiency. And I've tried my best to make it as easy for you guys as I can, but I'm also always available if there's questions or if you're not sure what to do. And the site staff all have my contact information that they can definitely share with you if you're like, I don't know about this, or I need help with this. And I'll come and change out these folders too as the year goes on. Maybe every 4 or 6 weeks, I'll add something new, take something out. So that way there's still variety. But as I said, you don't have to do everything every time. So that's those kits. They're going to probably not be at the sites until the first week of October. I'm still getting them all made and put together. Trying to make one for every kid is kind of a task. So we're still working on getting them all made and put together, but they will be at the sites by hopefully the first week of October. But that means for them, those first 2 weeks when you come to volunteer, you can start getting to know the students and getting to know the site and the center and the staff and everything.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So this is my 5th year tutoring, and I love this idea or this plan that you're doing this. But we have like 15 kids, and 2 volunteers. So how are we going to do this? I don't get how we're going to do one.
That is a great question. And I think that that's something I'm kind of leaving up to the staff to decide which students should work with a volunteer. And it could be that maybe one Monday you work with one student who really needs that one-on-one support. And maybe the next week that student is working on their own independently and you're working with somebody else. Or it could be that you and the site staff decide, okay, this student is going to need your support this entire 9 weeks of school. So let's have Miss Lori, when Miss Lori comes, she's working with this kid for 30 minutes. And then the last 30 minutes or 15 minutes can be time spent playing a game with the whole group or with a larger group of students. But that was kind of how I envision it, would be like assigning a volunteer to a student to work with for a certain number of weeks for a certain amount of time. And then at the end, still getting time to work with the whole group or with a larger group of students.
Thank you so much, Lainey. The one other question with that, or kind of in conjunction, maybe it would depend, maybe it would work or not. I'm glad we're going back to like working with fewer kids in one like group as opposed to trying to read to kindergarten through fifth graders in the same book and they're not listening and they can't figure it out, whatever. This is great. What I did find effective in the past, and maybe it could work, is because we have enough volunteers and staff to maybe split them into groups of, say, 3. Would you think that any of this work would work with not just one-on-one, but like 1 to 2 or 1 to 3?
Definitely. I think that would be a really great thing, especially for those similar grade level pairs. Your kindergartners, take the 3 of them and they all have the same activity in the kits. So you could just work with one kit, but do the same thing with all of them. I think that'd be good. I wouldn't advise going more than 3 students at a time, because I think then you lose the the benefit of getting that one-on-one and really small group support. But I think that you could definitely do it with like 2 or 3 kids at a time. Yeah, good question. Thanks, Lori. Any other questions?
Well, so there were 2 questions in the chat that I've seen.
Okay, great.
Somebody asked you, Lainey, you threw out a whole bunch of initials when you very first started talking, one of which was PBL.
Oh, yeah. Project-based learning, yes. So we do our project-based learning usually throughout the fall, and then throughout the spring we do a different one, and it's just a long-term project that the students work on, and it helps them to learn something new. So our students over the summer did a project-based learning project focusing on 6 different character strengths, and they learned about leaders in the world and in our community who use those character strengths, and then made a poster to present that to the rest of our group. So it's a project that just takes a lot longer than like one day, and they're learning something while they do it. I don't remember the other initials that I used. Probably SEL, which is social and emotional learning. So we're working on our social and emotional learning with the Positivity Project, which is a character strengths, positive psychology daily lesson that we work on with our students.
And sometimes that is called P2.
P2, that's right. Yeah, it is sometimes called that. Good job.
So yes, lots of initials. The other question that's in the chat is for people, if you've done that mandated reporter training before, you don't need to do it again. If you're new this year and you're 18 or over, please do that before your first day. There's a certificate that at the end of the training that you can send to me, or you can just send me an email. Are there any other questions for Lainey in particular, or questions about the volunteer agreement, about the schedule, anything like that?
I put Lainey's email in the chat too. So if later tonight something pops into your head or you have a question before you begin tutoring or volunteering, you can shoot her an email. So
I just saw Beth's question pop up. Each of our centers have so many books, which is so wonderful. And in the literacy kits that I'll be providing, I'll have at least 1 or 2 books per student as well. But the books that I put in those literacy kits will be books that the students can then take home if they finish reading it and they really like it. Those will be for them. But the ones at the sites, there's tons, so many, and our staff's really good about keeping those updated and making sure kids have a book to read. So there's definitely lots of books. But if you have one that you really like and you're like, oh, that's something that I also found as an educator and someone who works with students, is that if you are like, I think you would love this book, they're going to have buy-in right away because it's something that you thought was special for them. So if there is something like that, feel free to bring it, let them borrow it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Another question from Pat, is homework help part of what the volunteers do? So the answer is yes, maybe, but we are finding that students have less and less homework. And so that's why we are getting more structured on our side. But if you are working with a student that does have homework, I know we've got at least one volunteer who really wants to help with math. Just talk to your center staff about, if you have a particular desire to help with that. Okay, I will, you can keep writing things in the chat. We'll have another time for questions. I'm going to start going through our different centers, and hopefully everybody knows their assignment. And the center staff will say this all to you again, but if you can record their names and their phone number and a place that you can find it, so that when you have those specific questions, you can reach out to them directly. So this is the top, I don't know what's left to me, photo of the Apex, and then the bottom is the photo of Fort Henry. And I will send all of this by email as well. So if you're frantically writing, it's okay. I'll send it out again. Our Gates of Ballston meets in the community center at Ballston. Harvey Hall, 850 South Greenbrier Street. And the picture I put here is the door that we use, that volunteers use to come in and out of. The main doors are glass doors over to the side, but you'll come in and out of that green door. Virginia Gardens, also very tricky to find the space there. So if you are new, please have Yeshi and Nagat, Miss Yeshi and Miss Nagat, explain how to find them the first day and take their phone number. Woodbury Park, Frederick, also, honestly, it's a little bit hard to find that door. So I will send all of this out afterwards. So if you're